They got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back, tell me I'm garbage. I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling. Phone and progression, it's all that I wanted. The phone and affection, I summon and dub it. Cause they got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back, tell me I'm garbage. I'm going through something, that's why I ain't.
Y'all know what time it is. You're listening to the Urban Sports Scene. I'm Wole. Typically, we do Commanders Friday, but but we ain't doing that. And so we get a preview. We got a special person. It's a short work. It's a short week because Thursday night. Thursday, big game. We'll get into it. Before we get into it, hey, you got to subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, and other podcast platforms. Just search the Urban Sports Scene. Make sure you subscribe to the Urban Sports Scene YouTube channel. If you're in the YouTube chat, we accept super chats. Super chats help us support our show. The super chats will be prioritized over all comments in the YouTube chat. Don't forget to tweet us at Urban Sports Scene. Hit us up on IG and TikTok at Urban Sports Scene, and like our Urban Sports Scene Facebook page. Also join our Urban Sports Scene Facebook group. Just search Urban Sports Scene, sports bloggers, sports podcasters, and sports debates. All right, let's get into our tradition. The pregame. Here's what we have on tap. Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus's Commanders reporter Donna Hopkins will join me to preview the Commanders' Thursday night football game against the Green Bay Packers. All right, let me introduce one of my favorite people. You already know who she is. Let's not waste any time. Donna is in the building. What's going on, Donna?
What's up, Wally?
Hey, Donna.
Hey, week. Short week to turn it around. Going up to Lambeau. I love Lambeau. I've been there before. It was fun.
You've been there when it's super cold?
Super cold. The only time in all my long career of covering this team is one time I've been to Lambeau. I think it was maybe like 6 or so years ago. Mm-hmm. It was in late November. Snow was on the ground. Ice was on the ground. I was slipping and sliding. It could have been longer than 6 years, but either way it goes, it was in the wintertime because when I came back, flew out of Milwaukee and I drove back. Mm-hmm. It was snowing. I was like, okay, it's time to get out of Dodge. But but Lambeau Field is fun to go there. You got to go there one time.
Is it a fan experience or what makes it so fun?
Well, the stadium is in the heart of the neighborhood. I mean, it's almost like houses surround. And it's almost like they put the stadium right in the heart of the neighborhood. So that's the fun part. And on game day, people are out in their yards, parked there. They allow people to park in their driveways and whatever. And it's just a good atmosphere. It's just a fun little town to have a stadium there where the Packers is the talk of town. It's all about the Green Bay Packers there.
That's awesome.
And about the history, of Green Bay and the Packers and just the ownership of the Packers too, because everybody is involved. I think it's not just like an owner like Josh Harris or anything, but I think it's multiple people that own that team as far as community people.
Yeah, like Wrigley Field in Chicago. Donna is back. Donna's back. Donna's awesome. Y'all already know she's awesome. She's one of my favorites. All right, let's get into this game though, Donna. I'm excited for this game. I won't even lie to you. On Thursday night football, the Commanders will be taking on the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau Field. Coming off a win in week 1, what momentum do you think they bring into this Thursday night matchup against the Packers?
I think the two defenses that you got to talk about them because. And then the quarterbacks, but I'm always about the trenches and everything.
Yeah, always.
So when you look at the Packers defense, they're pretty solid. I asked Coach Quinn, I asked Jayden Daniels today about what did they see in the Packers defense. And Coach Quinn and Jayden said, as far as the speed, they added some safeties and then they got Parsons there. Linebacker wise, but he says their speed because they're so fast and everything that it leads into takeaways. So you got to really be careful with the ball. And then Jayden was talking about they fly around on defense. He said they're very sound up front. And that the tackling and let guys get after the passer. So as Coach Quinn and Jayden said, it's the speed of their defense, that the Commanders' offensive line is going to have to really stand up, and the protection on Jayden is going to be key. And you can't make the mistakes that they did in week 1 because the penalty flag was flying for the Commanders on both sides, offense and defense. And then, I talked a little bit about the Packers defense, but the Washington Commanders defense is pretty special also, because I think that last week against the Giants, what we saw from the Commanders defense up front, where the pressure was there, they stopped the run up the middle. The secondary, as I told Coach Quinn, they were stingy in the secondary. I mean, they basically could not get a pass. Their coverage in the secondary was pretty nice. And you think about the one play at the goal line where they stopped them several times on that one play. They stopped them up front and stuffed the run, but it was the protection in the secondary where nobody was open to catch a ball. That was pretty good. And they rattled Russell Wilson. And that's the first time in a while that I saw that kind of pressure come forward from the Commanders defense with those new additions in free agency. Javon played an exceptional game. He was like a monster out there. You wasn't getting around him. Daron Payne, got to give him some love, because what you saw for Daron Payne in that first game, I mean, he was aggressive. He was going after people. I mean, he had the one sack. And then, some of the other guys, Dietrich Wise had a great game. Dorrance Armstrong, he led the team as far as the pressures. He had 9. And when you look at them, the defense of the Commanders, 22 of 45 dropbacks for Russell Wilson. He had pressure on him 22 times from multiple people in there. Johnny Newton was in the mix. Like I said, Dorrance Armstrong, Wise. So I think when you look at the two defenses that of the Commanders and of the Green Bay Packers, that you got some work to do on the offensive side of the ball, where they gave up 3 sacks, I think, on Jayden Daniels. I think that the Packers defense may be a little better than the Giants, where everybody was bragging about the Giants defense. I think the Packers in that speed, but although they said that the Giants along the edges had the speed and everything, I think across the board. Did you see Michael Parsons come around that edge one time? And Coach Quinn is already familiar with that. But I think that I'm looking at the trenches again, as far as the Commanders in that first game was able to put 220 yards of rushing on the board, which is something that we were saying, how would they be balanced in the running game? Bill had a good game. Eckler, they had a mixture of all of the running backs that dress, Jeremy McNichols, Eckler, and all that. So, Wally, the key thing to me on offense this week for the Commanders offense is the protection of Jayden Daniels and having the time for him to get the ball to some of his receivers, because they know that they left a lot on the field. And as Coach Quinn said, it's September football, and we know September can be a little sloppy until you started gelling. And this team offensively is just really getting going, because they play one preseason game, and the first 2 to 3 weeks is when we see the offense starting to click. But one area that they clicked at is Jayden to Deebo Samuel.
Oh man, often.
Click, click, click.
Often.
It was on point, whether he was coming around, whether he was going across the middle, going long. The connection was there in every way possible that you wanted to see what it was going to look like between Deebo Samuels and as far as Jayden Daniels. And we saw that. Now it's a different story going up to Lambeau with the cheese heads. They're going to be having to be on point and clean up the offense a little bit more than what they did in week 1, because like I said, it was too many penalties, offsides. And do you think on a Thursday night prime time where that crowd if you ever been to Green Bay, you will understand when I say that stadium is pretty special and it rocks. So the Commanders have to get out of the gates really strong on offense and clean up some of the mistakes they made with the penalty flag flying.
So would you say that's the thing they have to improve on when they're playing this Packers team? Because just to your point, this Packers team is more of an offensive threat than the Giants were. And then secondly, like you said, yeah, granted, like they may not have granted, like around the board, they're probably a better defensive team, like you're saying, like complete as a complete unit. This team has to pretty much clean the penalties up. That's your main thing. Would that be your main concern?
Yeah, because I think that it stalled the Commanders' offense on multiple times of them moving up the field because it was a penalty for holding, a penalty for offsides, where it stalled the offense. And so I think that is key for the Commanders moving forward in this game is they can't afford those many mistakes right there. And I think when you look at the passing game, everybody was talking about where was Chris Rodriguez and why the Commanders did not dress all of the running backs. And Coach Quinn talked about that today when asked about Rodriguez. And he said, look, he's hit all the marks, Chris Rodriguez. They are not disappointed in him in any way possible, but they wanted to suit up 6 receivers. So I'm sure that they thought it was important to have 6 receivers, with that group all getting back for the first time on the field, because you think about it, Terry wasn't in training camp. Noah Brown missed some action too, but this is the first time that you had all of those guys back on the field at one time. So I'm sure that Coach Quinn wanted multiple wide receiver. We saw Chris Moore finally catch a ball, and it was like, wow, he caught a ball, because and maybe it was because of the quarterback that was, that he was receiving the ball from in preseason, but he was important. So I think that Coach Quinn said it's game time, as far as game situation of who's going to be in the backfield according to which team they're playing. But again, I want to kind of like tell everybody that Chris Rodriguez hit all the marks, not only on offense in the running game, but also Coach Quinn talked about in the passing game. So I was pleased, like I said, to see what they did in the running game, because Jayden Daniels ran, of course, a lot. But that's Jayden Daniels, and that's part of the offense, and the weapons out there is Jayden Daniels, his own weapon. And then I saw him step up also. And like he said, it's some sloppy areas that they need to clean up. And I think the penalties and all that. And Coach Quinn talked about Jayden. They asked about how did Jayden perform in his first week. And Coach said that he was so close on some of his passes and whatever. And I think that you'll see him be hitting those targets as he goes on this week and forward, because, again, he's getting the Terry's back in the mix, even though he played with Terry last year. I think that all of those guys starting to gel again is important too. So I would say cleaning up those mistakes, even though the defense was solid all the way around, and I thought they knocked it out of the ballpark across the board on defense, that they still had penalties at key points that kept the ball moving forward. But let's talk a little bit about the offensive line of the Packers. They're missing 2 of their star players. Their right tackle, Zach Tom, left with a hip injury, and their left guard, Aaron Banks, also was injured. But they have so much depth on their offensive line that the guys that came in really did a good job. Jordan Morgan, first round left guard. So they do have depth there, but they did lose some key people on their offensive line last week in their win over the Detroit Lions. And hey, Wally, when you look at that game against the Detroit Lions, they only gave up 13 points. 13 points. So that tells you a little bit about their defense. But I think the Lions are in disarray right now. They lost their offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. So I think that they're still trying to come up from air to put that team back together, being that they have new people. But it's the cleaning up mistakes to me that has to be looked at this week as far as some of those little things.
Yeah, with Burgundy, Burgundy and Gold for Life said the misses to Terry and Debo is on the deep passes. Yeah, I think that's going to be. I think Jayden was a little rough. I think Jayden was, like Donna said, not throwing the ball in preseason, kind of showed. But I do think that as the season goes on, he'll get his rhythm on with those players. I agree with Donna. Yeah. He also said, I like what Donna said there, Donna. Any chance you do a walk-up show on how the community, on how the community around Lambeau?
I'm going to try to get there because I get there early and I want people to get a flavor of what I'm talking about
So you ready to
because
do it. Okay.
I normally anyway, when I get to stadiums, I normally walk the stadium, be out there with the fans in the mix of the fans. And what I'll do is take some, pictures of driving up there to the stadium so that you can kind of like get a good vibe of what it looks like. I'll try to get out in the communities close by, because I normally get to the game like 4 hours early. So I like to get a mix of the feel and everything out there. So I'll try my best to get y'all some flavor of never been to Green Bay, really what it looks like in the community driving up. It's really a fun place to go watch a game.
All right. So so Burgundy and Gold for Life. You already got it. She's working on it. So make sure you pull up to her YouTube channel because it's going to be there. So make sure you pull up.
I try to give y'all the best and the latest, greatest stuff. When you can't be there in the midst of the action, I'm there kind of like in the mix of trying to kind of like see everything. Because that's the reason why when I get to a game, I'm roaming around trying to get the storylines that, and Green Bay at Lambeau Field is one area that you definitely want to take it all in.
Yeah, you can't miss that one. That's like it's Lambeau Field. It's like, it's the voice, like NFL when the NFL used to do like those ads for like Lambeau Field or anything, any type of programming, it'd be like Lambeau Field or whatever. It used to be like the thing. So yeah.
And Wally, it's kind of crazy because I'm telling you, you drive up there and it takes forever to get out of the stadium because of the 2-lane of trying to get through the neighborhoods and everything. So if you had those houses that were next to each other and people are out there saying you can park here, your parking is not in the garage. Or it's not, it's not street parking. It's in people's driveways or their yards. That's where you park in Green Bay for the game. And they have the parking lots, but the people who come to the game, they're parking all around the stadium in people's driveways and in the neighborhood.
Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of like crazy. I mean, for them to have thought about putting a stadium there and packing. It's almost like opening up a box, a birthday box, or just a box in general, and you to put the stadium in that box among all the stuff around the outside. So that's really Green Bay.
It's almost like a I don't want to call it like a college like mentality around it. Is it more like?
No, it's almost like if you go to Penn State, or if you go to Pitt or some of those areas where it's all about football. It's all about the team that plays there. And that's Green Bay. Let me tell you, you take out the stadium and you just got a neighborhood. It's nothing there. Hotels is hard to find. Most people fly into Milwaukee because of places to stay. But their main thing is football and the Packers, and that's what makes that town go.
That's awesome. Paul's had a comparison. He says that's how it used to be at RFK, parking in people's backyard and alleys.
Hey, but you know what? It's even. I mean, Green Bay is different than even that.
Okay.
Because it's houses. It's not like apartments and schools and whatever. It's like houses around that whole stadium and whatever. So yeah, and a lot of green and cheese and the yellow and the cheese heads. Yes, it's so much of that. But it's kind of fun to watch because if you support a team like the Green Bay Packers fans do, think about when they had Brett Favre and some of those guys, Lombardi and all, the history just is rich in Green Bay, and that's the reason why I said, and it is a ghost town. You take out take out them. If it's not football going on, you got to drive to Milwaukee to get a little action because Green Bay is all about the Packers.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, don't the fans like own the team? Isn't that the thing?
That's what I'm saying. The fans is not like the ownership. That's what I was talking about earlier. Yeah. It's not like ownership like Josh Harris and all that.
Yeah.
The fans own the team. I think they have ownership in the team.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So that's what makes it kind of like cool is they are vested 100% in many ways.
That is crazy. Like
I wonder if I can own a piece of them.
I mean,
I'm not
you
a
probably
fan of the
could.
Green Bay
You probably
Packers.
could though. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine like owning pieces like the Commanders. That would be
Even like 1%.
like 1%. That's crazy. That is that's insane. So, all right. So obviously, I mean, Green Bay's also want to know. What do you feel like? What do you see as the biggest challenge for the Commanders defense? Well, I mean, they'll face when they go against the Packers offense.
Yeah, I think that Jordan Love is a different quarterback than Russell Wilson.
Yeah, you said it. You said it twice.
Yeah. I think that's the difference right there. Is the quarterback of Green Bay versus Russell Wilson, because I think it's a different, younger quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, as far as running, Russell Wilson used to run and whatever. I ain't going to do that. And then Jordan Love is a little bigger than Russell Wilson. So I think, to me, defensively, they know that Jordan Love is going to go downfield, and he has multiple people. They got a good running game also. So the Commanders, again, will be tested as far as stopping the run. But it's just a different quarterback that they face this week that they really have to key in on. The secondary will be tested. So I want to see how they hold up against the Packers and their wide receiver group. And stay true to what they did in that Giants game. They didn't give up anything. They didn't bite or anything. And it was good to be able to see Marshawn Lattimore 100% back and what we saw from him. They were shutting down people from Lattimore to Mikey to Will Harris. And I think what Coach Quinn said that impressed him most about the defense, it was the tackling. Now, Wally, we know that we talk about tackling over and over and them not wrapping up guys. Yeah. And for the most part, the Commanders did a good job of tackling and tackling at the onset and not letting people slip through the fingers. So I think that's the key thing, again, is tackling and being sound in your technique and in your approach. And then Kinlaw told me today that, recovery is the key. I said, what's the key thing in facing the Green Bay Packers? And he said the recovery time and recovering in a short week to be ready, because, it's hard to be turning around things. And the key thing, too, is to have that energy come Green Bay for that primetime game. Yes. Because in a short week, the first opening part of the season, the first game at FedEx, Northwest Stadium, that energy was there with your crowd. Now you're going to be facing a Green Bay crowd, so your energy has to match their energy and to make sure that you start off hot like you did in that Giants game. You don't want to go up there and play from behind. But that's the thing. I think the difference is this week for the Commanders defense is the quarterback play on the other side.
Yeah, I agree. I just think that, and the weapons they have as wide receiver, I think they'd have so many weapons, and it's not like they have. It's crazy because not like they have the guy. They have a multiple guys who they can hurt, and these guys can hurt you, and especially they got the kid from Texas, the rookie, who is extremely fast. I forgot his name.
And because with the Giants, Wally, you only have Malik Neighbors that they wanted to really worry about. They had a couple other people, but he was their main guy. Yeah. But this week, like you said, Jordan Love has multiple people that he can go to. And that's the key thing that I look at is you have to be able to cover in the secondary multiple people that you didn't have to with the Giants. So that to me is going to be key, is those area is quarterback play and you being able to basically be stingy again with the receivers, multiple weapons this time that you didn't have against the Giants.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, Matthew Golden. That's what I'm thinking of. Like the kid Matthew Golden, who's a good young wide receiver who they just drafted. They got Christian Watkins, who's still a fast dude.
They're going to take their shots.
They got talent. Like they got a bunch. To your point, Donna, they got way Neighbors is tough, but they got more guys that can hurt you. They got guys who can hurt you. Period. So it's really going to be a match. It's going to be a challenge because now you can't key on one person which is they're going to have like all our corners have to win individually. You can't.
Well, you know what?
Sorry,
What is most, wasn't most important is not just the corners winning. This is because the defense up front has to be able to put the pressure up front that you give that secondary time enough to not be picked apart by Love being able to survey the field and hit multiple targets. So this is 1 week that pressure up front is going to be even more valuable than it was even last week because of those multiple weapons. So getting the pressure on Love, rattling him some, getting him down. He's going to run a lot more than Russell Wilson did. And this is a young quarterback that played pretty good last year. And now he's a little more settled. So again, the pressure up front is going to be so key in helping that secondary out of the multiple weapons they have for Green Bay.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough, but I do think that, to your point, I mean they're more equipped than they were last year to handle this.
They're bigger. I talked about the Green Bay Packers, talking about the speed and whatever. The Commanders are so much bigger and lengthy on defense than they were last year. I think Von Miller, I didn't even call out his name, but I thought that he had some great action last week against the Giants and everything coming around the edge. But I think Kinlaw and Wise and Johnny Newton and Payne really complement each other in this early stage of watching them. It was one game last week, but I think that the defensive line and the players up there complement each other a little bit more than they did last year. And we talk about Green Bay being fast. The Commanders are pretty big and physical up front, something that we hadn't seen, the physicality of the defensive line of what we saw in week 1. And they're going to have to show that in week number 2 against a different offensive team in the Packers. But again, they're a little nicked up, the Packers offensive line. So like I said, but they still had depth at their offensive line, and the guys that came in played pretty good, but still they're ailing. Key guys has been there for a long time. It's a little bit different.
Yeah, the burgundy and gold for life. I agree with you. Like the Lions, in terms of because it's hard to compare matchups, right? Because the Washington played the Giants and the Packers played the Lions. And he said the Lions they wasn't physical. Whereas our team is physical. Coach LaFleur is going to scheme a running game. Jacobs needs to be stopped early so they can abandon the run. I agree with that. Totally agree with that because. Again, and for Washington too, they're going to be challenged differently too. I know we're going to say our corners match up against their wide receivers, but we're going off of what we did against the Giants. This I'm gonna say this unit is better than the Giants unit as a whole. Like it is. This is better. Like I'm gonna be honest with you, it's just better. So this is the truth. This is a test. The Giants was a good. It was good because it's a good test individually against how one can go against neighbors. But this is a test for your unit as a whole. Like we haven't been tested, and also to your point, Donna, like you're going to get better quarterback play, which is going to make it stress. It's going to be more stressful. So this is a test. So it's hard. We'll know if we do match up well against receivers like this. If after what happens here, we will know. I don't think it's fair to say that we'll know. We know because the Giants didn't offer this type of ability. The Packers offer a whole different type of ability.
And Jacobs is a different runner than what Washington faced last week against the Giants. But that's going to be a telltale. Rather, I don't care who the runner is in backfield, you got to be able to plug the middle. And they did that in week 1.
Yes.
Different runner this week. I think if you like they said, if you shut down the run and early and force them to become one-dimensional, then you take away some of their offensive weapons and everything, and you make them have to complete that, and that makes it easier. Will they stack the box? Also against the Packers, stack the box? That's going to be interesting to see that. But I think that when you look at Washington across the board, getting Terry even more involved, and I think some of those long balls that they missed before, and they were just off by a little bit.
Like a little bit.
So just a little bit. And so this week you look to say, oh, that's going to improve. Because one thing about JD5, to me, he's so competitive. Coach Quinn talked about that. I said, Well, I like that.
Yeah.
I said, because I like people being competitive, say, I'm going to show you. And so that means that they hate that they were off that much. And so Jaden comes back and say, you know what? I was off by a little bit, but this time I'm going to be back on the money. But the key thing again is that the O-line, I want to see how they hold up again. And I think that Josh Connolly will be better now that his feet is wet in a regular game. Brandon Scherf talked about Laramie Tunsil. This is what I like. Laramie Tunsil is so important for this offensive line because he adds so much. First of all, you know, people ain't going to get around him too much. But what he did was Brandon Coleman again said that he was coaching him on the field against the Giants and correcting things on the go. So that helped out so much that it was like, hey, maybe you should be doing this, do this the next time and whatever. So you want a guy on your offensive line that's able to help the young guys come along to make them better, to correct things right on the fly. Wally, you know it's hard for people to correct things on the fly.
Yes.
So that tells you a little bit about the growth and how Brandon Coleman can grab a hold of things right there on the spot. And I think Connolly, like I said, will be much better because the thing about a rookie is you got to kind of like learn techniques and how people roll as far as on the defense side. So he was tested last week, and I think he still did a good job.
He did a great job.
Tested this week. So these first two games against these defenses that they're going up against, it's going to make the rookies much better. I see Jalen Lane getting even more active this week in the offense. But again, it all comes down to in the trenches to me.
Always in the trenches with Donna.
Always in the trenches. There, because guess what? If they hold up, everything else holds up. You think about on a battlefield, what is most important, Wally?
It's in the trenches.
The people up front.
Yeah, the big uglies. The big uglies are the ones.
Protecting everybody in the back and everything. So because if the front line collapse, a lot of other things collapse. So that's the reason why I say that the line play on both sides is the thing that's going to be key this week.
Nah, I totally agree with you. I think it always is. It's always about that, Don. I'm so with you. It's always about that. So, and on the flip side, where can Washington exploit the Packers? Where, in your opinion? The Packers defense. I'm sorry. Where can they exploit the Packers defense?
Yeah, I think that Washington has so many weapons. We don't talk about them and give them the credit either because they have multiple people in the backfield because I think that each back gives you a different look. Bill gives you a different flavor than Alston and Jeremy and even Rodriguez. So they all add different elements. I think that with Deebo Samuels, you using him in the backfield too, and the things that you can do with him, the thing about Deebo is that is where that Jayden them can really hurt other teams because he do multiple things. So you don't know in the backfield, you don't know in the going wide receiver. So he's used in so many ways that throws off a defense because you just don't know where he's going to be. And then Noah Brown and Terry and Lane. I think when you talk about the wide receiver group, you got weapons, different things, because one thing that Coach Quinn did in preseason and more so in training camp is that he played those guys in multiple positions on offense. Deebo was a slot. Then he was going long. Same thing for Lane. And Lane has so much speed that hurts you too. And then Terry. So the receivers can do multiple things. They just don't play one thing. You look and Deebo came across the middle a lot and hurt there. But I think that Washington's weapons, and then Zach Ertz, we didn't even talk about him, and Zach was kicking himself on the balls that he dropped. So you ain't going to see too much of that. So where Washington can hurt Green Bay, if Jayden has enough time to throw the ball, is the weapons that they have on offense as far as the wide receivers and the multiple things that they can do with those wide receivers and the running game that pretty much performed, better than we expect them to do. When is the last time you heard 220 yards coming from the running game? And I think the pass blocking for the running game and how Bill also sees the holes, and you could just see the explosiveness as he hits the holes. So I think that looking at, you said where can they exploit the defense? I think because of the multiple weapons that they have in the running game and the wide receiver room, and of course JD5.
All right. Speaking of JD5, like I'm glad you said that. Speaking of JD5, you mentioned that he's ultra competitive. I'm a believer that he likes the bright lights. Prime time is his time. Like I feel like that's a motivational factor for him. Like you around him more often than many. Like, am I right by thinking that?
Yeah, I think Jaden just likes to win. Okay. And I mean, I don't even I mean, who doesn't like the bright lights? Yeah. But I think it's more about just winning and getting better and improving each week. I think that is Jaden. He's competitive. I mean, if you've ever been around a competitive person, that would be me.
I know. I haven't.
You already know that it kills you when you do something where you was like, ugh. And then you come back the next week and you be like, I'm gonna show them. Yeah. And you don't like to have nothing go wrong or whatever. So I think it's his competitive nature, not so much the bright lights and all of that. It's just the winning attitude that he has of never wanting to win and always wanting to be better. And always working hard to be better. So that's what I like about Jaden is, and they won the game last week against the Giants. What did he say in his presser? We were sloppy.
Yeah, we're sloppy. He's right.
Yeah, it wasn't like, hey, we won. At least we won. No, winners and competitive people say we could have been better.
True.
And that's what I think you hear from Jaden all the time is we could have been a lot better, and we got a lot to clean up still. And the thing I like about Jaden is he will clean up those things.
I love it too. I do love it. What did you say? Pack corners plays our zone players, and they can't run their back. Takes away from some of the aggressiveness that that Packers enjoyed versus the Lions. Also, Paul says, I will say this: JD takes it to another level when it's a big game. It seems like
not just one level. Let's just go up, dial it up a couple of levels.
Yeah, you go up.
You better keep your eyes on there because Jaden is accurate. He gets rid of the ball quick, and the thing about it is you got to be mindful of he might take off and he can throw on the run. So that's the thing I like about this Commanders offense, but. It all comes down to play callers. Somebody asked me earlier today, what did I think of the play calling on defensive offense? I told them that I thought that Kingsbury, I think he started off strong as far as that running game, getting that going. Because if you can get that going, then it makes the passing game so much easier. They stalled for a little bit, and that was because of the mistakes and penalties or whatever. But where I thought that they were exceptional is Coach Witt and the game plan that he called. He said that this year, he told me when I asked him about how he saw the defense going into 2025, he said and the run game, he said we will be much better in the run game because of the length with those guys that they added. And also up front, you saw the aggressiveness of the defense. I mean, most of the time I hate people when they don't really be aggressive and they set back and let the other team be the bullies. Well, Washington, Coach Witt, the game plan, that coaching staff over there called is they were the bullies on the first week and everything, and they got to be the bullies this week. So I was quite impressed with the coordinators of the game that they called on both sides of the ball, even more so on the defense because it was some areas of improvement that they had to make. It's only week one. But I like the fact that in week one, I saw what I've been waiting for is pressure up front, stopping that run on the middle and filling those gaps and shutting down everybody. And they were just shut down defense in week one, but they got a bigger task coming up this week. So you're hoping to see the same thing no matter what quarterback that they face or what offense they face. This is a good test for the offense and the defense going forward in this game because Wally, Short week. So Coach Quinn
Yeah.
said that they already was putting things in for this game anyway, knowing that it was in the schedule. So, I mean, they were focusing on the Giants, but you can believe that they were already game planning against the Packers, knowing that they had a short week.
Yeah, so pretty much got to my question. Like, that's what it was. Like, have they already kind of gone on mode? And like, in terms of how are they getting ready for the Packers or whatnot? But they've already, so you're saying they've already.
They was already doing that. Coach Quinn said we were already game planning against them before the Giants game, knowing that we were already putting some things in place, for this week with the players and everything. Because you think about it, practice was on Tuesday, they fly out on Wednesday. And so if you hadn't already game planned all that, you were already be late. So I'm sure that they looked at this on the schedule the week before, even the Giants. They were planning their strategies against the Green Bay Packers. So he said that was already put in place. So it's not like, oh, we just did that this week. No, they couldn't have done that.
Let's see. Paul said, Donna, please tell Cliff stop being too cute in play calling.
Well, I did say that I thought that they were aggressive in the beginning. I think it stalled some, and but I mean, I like the different variety and whatever. But for a minute, the Commanders, until they scored that last touchdown in the fourth quarter, I said the offense is sure not taking it to them right now and putting your feet on their neck. But I think at the end of the day, you still got to look at 12 penalties. And I think a lot of those were on the offensive side of the ball. So you think you're moving the ball and all of a sudden you're going backwards instead of forward. And quite a bit of the time, the Commanders was going backwards because they were getting good yards on first down and second down where it was short yardage on third down. And the drops. Don't get me started there, and the drops. So between the penalties and the drops, I don't know if you can put too much on Kingsbury in that game when if you catch the ball, the one that Terry that was a little long, that was just barely off, you get a big game right there and possibly a score. And then, like I said, the multiple penalties that they had, I mean, that's a killer. That's a killer in itself. You inflicted the wound on yourself. Nobody else did that.
Alexander Wilson said, I thought Jaden was late on at least 3 throws. Thoughts?
Yeah, well, no, Coach Quinn talked about, just the little things where he was off a little late on some of the things. But I will always say that the defense starts off stronger than the offense because the offense, think about it, that Jaden didn't have most of his whole offensive line for the whole training camp and preseason. This is the first time that Brandon Coleman was back in there and some of the other guys that had been out. Terry back in there. I don't care what anybody said. I don't care how many times. When you start a new season, being in training camp and all that gets your timing down. So that's what I'm talking about. If Jaden was late on some things, it's just timing with the receivers that may have not been there and so forth that has to, that will get on point the more they're in these game situations. So I think that, again, some of the things that we saw last week, we probably won't see this week because this is another week that they've had that all of those things. But I just think that offense comes around a little slower in the first. I give them 4 weeks in the season before you see the click in, and it's just kind of like there. So I kind of like where and Jaden corrects things on the fly. So that's the reason why I said that competitive nature of Jaden Daniels won't be the point where he said he's going to clean up the little things that he saw that, okay, I know that I'm better. This is what I saw. This is what happened. So therefore, taking that all in, he's a student of the game. Jaden is in the classroom. He is a film watcher. And that's the thing that Coach Quinn talked about is the reason why they can put in multiple things with this team on both sides of the ball is because they got guys that really study film. And if you don't study film, if you don't study your opponents, if you don't study what you did the previous week to see how you correct that, then you're behind the 8 ball. And I think that's the reason that this team is going to be better is because of the studying in the classroom. And as Coach said, they're still finding their identity with this team with so many new people and everything. And once that starts to click and whatever, and once they start to play together in real games, you will start seeing things click a little more.
Hey, folks who are listening, make sure y'all hit the like button. It's great for the Commander algorithm. So make sure, don't forget to hit the like button. Keep hitting it. Don't stop. Don't hesitate. Keep hitting the like button. Just
hit it with two fingers.
Two fingers, like Donna said. Two fingers.
Right.
So Donna, what are your keys for Commander's victory on Sunday night?
I think they have to go and be aggressive. I think that they have to stay true to their assignments. And I think that on the offensive side of the ball, that offensive line has to give Jayden enough time. In the passing game, they got to be able to. I think that the key thing on offense is being able to really run the ball too. Not become one-dimensional. And I think on the defensive side of the ball, you've got to be aggressive up front like you did before. And then that'll help out that secondary with the multiple weapons and everything. And then the key thing is, please don't get 12 penalties. Cut down on those mistakes. I think that's the key thing. And basically to start off quick, boom. Because the thing about it is the quicker you start off, you get on the board and everything, and those short yardage on third down is key.
My man, Burgundy and Go for Life said JD5, Bobby Wagner, and Luvu they're going to have a good game. And Bill going to get 100. He said Bill's going to have a 100-yard game.
I hear you talking.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Bill.
Mo Bill, I love it.
Hey, I wrote. This is what I want to make. This is what I want, and I think the Commanders' need is they got to get more sacks, pressure, but they got to take the ball away.
They got to
get some picks. They had a few in their hands, but they got to be able to get the ball and get some picks on the defensive side of the ball. That's something that Coach Quinn said that he wants to see improvement. Coach Witt said the same thing, is that they have to get forced turnovers and get the ball in their hands on the defensive side.
Yeah, I think they need to. Jordan Love turns the ball over too. And Paul said this in the chat. So I think there's an opportunity for that to happen. It says Donna, I missed this. Did Quinn address the two plays in the 28 seconds before the half? The coach Quinn.
Is that the goal line play where they
before the half they didn't score? When they didn't score before the half.
He talked to, I asked him about the defense and just the goal line. I think he was asked about that multiple times, and he said that those winning moments. Mikey Samuelsteele talked about winning moments, and that was one. I asked Coach Quinn that what really stood out about that game that, in that really he said, oh, we got that right. And he talked about that goal line play where they kept them out of the end zone. You think about that. They got the penalty that put the ball on the 1 yard line, and you got to hold them for 4 downs if they don't kick the field goal or whatever. And 1 yard line, and that defense was able to basically shut them down as far as not getting in the end zone. The cover was really exceptional because you think about it. Russell Wilson had some moments to hit the targets, but they basically took the passing game away from them, and the defensive pressure up front. Coach Quinn said that is what they've been practicing. Because think about it. I told you all, I think a while ago in training camp, they worked on the red zone, goal line stands like that. And Coach Quinn, a lot, they worked on that. And he said that was what he was pleased with quite a bit during training camp, is that, because I asked him about that also, about, what was it anything that he saw that he did not expect to see? And he was talking about the red zone stops on defense and how they operated there. So, yeah, he was quite pleased with that. And he said something that he expected to see. He said he wasn't surprised. He wasn't surprised about Deron Payne's play because he's been seeing that. So, again, those were key areas. If you were at training camp and you really watched the trenches like I did, that is what you saw in the red zone. And they did this over and over again. as far as goal line with that many seconds left and in stopping the opposing team. So you saw that in full action of what they had been working on in training camp, and it showed itself in a real game when it counted most.
But what also what about the and I'm glad I saw, because you all been talking about it, and I'm glad I got to see that in real time. But what about the intentional grounding with Jaden at the end of the half? Like, did he talk about that as well?
No, I don't think he didn't say anything about that. I don't
Okay.
even recall anybody asking him about that. But I mean, to me, the intentional grounding, I mean, they could have ended up getting a field goal.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's just the little things that they want to clean up. And that's one area, because no receiver or anybody was over there. And Jaden was pressured at that moment too. But he really didn't mention that. And like I said, I don't recall anybody asking about that, but my concern wasn't even that. It was just the offsides, the holding, and all those kind of penalties that it becomes your discipline. When people are jumping off sides and holding or whatever, it's a discipline thing. And Coach Quinn talked about that even last year. It's the discipline and everything to hold your blocks. Or, as far as jumping off, and even on the defensive side, they jumped off in some critical moments.
Oh, they sure did. They sure did.
Which kept the ball moving forward. So it's just basically being aggressive, but not being overly aggressive.
Totally agree. Bias Betters said, a huge Commander fan here. However, I am concerned about the Packers offensive line, defensive line, similar as the strength of the Eagles O-line and D-line in the NFC Championship game. Do you agree?
I think that, like I said, this is a good task for the Commanders with the Packers, even though they ailing on their offensive line a little bit. But like I said, they had great depth. Their defensive line, I told you what Coach Quinn them said, they got better in the draft in drafting, safeties. And then, you get Parsons, and then you already had speed there, defensive line. So they are fast and everything. And like Coach Quinn said, that they'll be batting balls, and next thing you know, they'll be took it away and took it to the house. So you got to be mindful of that. I think when you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, this is the reason why I'm not totally concerned, because this is the reason why the Commanders went out in free agency and got the people that they did. This is the reason why the Commanders on the offensive side got Laramie Tunsil, and also they got another offensive lineman. They on the defensive line, they got the multiple people across there, the Von Millers, the Wise, the Goodman, Kinlaw, and all of those guys. And in the secondary, they got the Jonathan Jones and Will Harris and all of those guys to make this team better because of the Eagles, or what they face with the Eagles offensive line and defensive line. Make no bones about it. People are concerned about the Commanders also, of what they added and what they saw last week. So I think it's going to be a good battle task for this team on another level to see exactly what they will be facing this week against a better offensive and defensive line. Although the Giants are supposed to be tough too.
They were.
But I still think that the Commanders, you may have not given them enough credit of what they added.
I agree with you. I totally agree, Donna. Well, Donna, this has been dope. Before we end this show, please let folks know how they can catch you on social media. And also
on X is Donna Hopkins _ and
awesome.
On Instagram is DJ Hop 32.
Oh yeah,
Magic Johnson.
Yes, 32. I know.
Yeah, and then they could also, our show kicks off again. Although we've been doing shows all season long, we kick off the regular season on Mid-Atlantic Sportsnet Masson on Wednesdays and Fridays at 10:30 p.m. Saturday morning at 9, and also our podcast to add a little bit more that we can get everything on the show. In the Minute, it gives you the weekday updates and everything. So please tune in. And as Wally always say, on our Instagram, if you cannot get Mid-Atlantic Sportsnet, after it runs on Wednesday, we post it on our YouTube channel for the show. So go there, like, love, comment, and just follow us. So appreciate everybody's support.
Yeah, Don is awesome. Rory, appreciate you, man. Appreciate you, Rory. Appreciate you, Bias Better. Appreciate you, Burgundy and Gold for life, man. Appreciate everybody. Deluxe, always appreciate you. Paul, you know I appreciate you as well. Everybody, thank y'all for pulling up, tuning in, asking great, phenomenal questions, phenomenal comments.
You all are the MVPs.
You all are. Rory, you are the man. Rory, you ain't gotta do that, bro. Rory, thank you for the super chat. Rory, you ain't gotta do that. Rory, thank you. You did not have to do that, bro. Real talk. Real talk, man.
Hey, Rory, I told you, you all are the MVPs.
You are. They are. They are the MVPs. They would make the show go. You know what I mean? That and the cool guests like Donna. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm not like going like not do that. But anyway, I appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all for pulling up and tuning in. Anyway, you've been listening to the Urban Sports Scene for ages. Yedig deuces. We are out. Peace.
Swag.